I've been contacted by a huge number of constituents raising concerns about delays to EHCPs, a lack of specialist placements and the struggle to secure the support their children need. Like so many in this House, SEND issues dominate my surgeries and casework, and it is heartbreaking to see the delays and the pain and anguish brought to those children and families as they wait for what they deserve, an education that works for them and their specific needs. And what troubles me even more is not just those cases that have been brought to me, but how many more there must be who have not come forward. One of the most troubling aspects of this SEND crisis is that too many children simply do not have a suitable place at all. Children left in settings that cannot meet their needs, or in some cases out of education altogether. But this issue does not begin with placements, it begins much earlier in the system. In Buckinghamshire Council have advised that there is a shortage of occupational therapists to carry out assessments and delays of up to 56 weeks just to issue an EHCP. That is over a year where a child may be stuck in the wrong setting, a year of lost progress and a year of growing pressure on families.
I give my honourable friend for giving way. Would he agree with me that as well as the harm to the children who do not receive timely support for their special needs, if they're in the wrong setting, there's also harm to the teachers who are not qualified to support those children in their setting, their normal mainstream setting. So the quicker we can do the assessments and get the right support will not only help the children but also the educationalists that are providing the education.
Well, gentlemen, for that intervention, I do agree with him. And of course, it is the whole system that suffers in the circumstance that he describes, the teaching staff who do their absolute very best, and also every other child that is in those classes. He makes a very fair point. So before we even get to the question of school places, the system is already falling behind. But in Buckinghamshire, nearby SEND schools are already oversubscribed, and mainstream schools, despite the best efforts of those heroic teaching staff, cannot always meet complex needs. And this is where we in Buckinghamshire have been most let down by this government. Back in 2024, May 24, the Department for Education wrote to Buckinghamshire Council committing to a brand new 152-place SEND school for Buckinghamshire. That wasn't a political pledge or a general election campaign promise. It was officially announced by the Department for Education. This Labour government have formally scrapped it. What was a £20 million spend downgraded to £8 million over 3 years for Buckinghamshire. That is not good enough. That school would not have solved all of our problems, but it would have gone a very long way. And I urge the government, even at this late hour, to think again and deliver this school for my constituents, children and families in Buckinghamshire who would benefit so much from it. Now, turning to the government's proposed SEND reforms, many parents have contacted me on this, and I'm concerned, as my honourable friend for Farnham and Borden has outlined, that the government are not even close to getting this right. One constituent wrote to me, and I quote, "I am concerned that the direction of SEND reform risks children and young people having to fit into whatever provision is available or else missing out on education entirely. I am really worried that these new proposals will leave parents having to battle directly with schools to get help for their child." And that is an important point. We need a system that works for the needs of each and every child, not a system that works for a faceless bureaucracy. My constituent continues, and again I quote, "My 2 children both have an autism diagnosis, but are significantly different in their support needs. A one-size-fits-all type provision will not be suitable for even these 2 siblings. I would love them to be able to manage at a mainstream school, But the solution is not for schools to become more SEN friendly. The solution is a complete overhaul and reform of the schooling system. It is antiquated and not fit for purpose. And I would urge the Minister, I was lucky enough to go to an event in Portcullis House with parents and teachers of SEND families this afternoon, chaired by Rory Bremner. The evidence given by those parents and those teachers was quite frightening. Many who fear that under this white paper brought to be, their children will be excluded altogether. I urge her to get a readout from that meeting. Now, this leads on to wider concerns about the loss of individualised, and as my honourable friend put it in his own excellent speech, legally enforceable support. Not just the risk of children being forced into inappropriate provision, but the potential loss of legal protections and tribunal rights and the potential loss of EOTAS packages, education other than at school, for children who cannot attend any school setting. That cannot be right.
I'm very grateful to my honourable friend. And previously, when I spoke in the Select Committee debate on this in this chamber, I highlighted that too many parents feel the system is done to them rather than working with them. Does my honourable friend share the concern of parents in my constituency and my concern that for that trust to be rebuilt, there has to be some sort of individually legally enforceable backstop for those families?
My right honourable friend, he hits the nail precisely on the head. And it is in the interest of those families that motivated me to speak in this debate this afternoon. I entirely endorse the point he makes. In the last few moments I'd like to briefly raise another specific case that I would be grateful for the Minister's reflections upon in her summing up. And that is a case that brought to me by a constituent who adopted 2 children in 2020. Both children experienced significantly early trauma and later received diagnoses indicating multiple and complex needs, not least fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, which can involve more than 400 co-occurring difficulties affecting physical health, cognition, executive functioning and behaviour. And delays in intervention have had real and significant consequences. As adoptive parents, my constituents are aware of research estimating that adoption generates significant long-term and social economic value. I doubt anyone would disagree with that. Yet, paradoxically, by adopting their children, they appear to have lost priority access to some state-funded support that would have been available had those children remained in foster care. This unintended consequence is deeply concerning. And more broadly, adopted children with SEND often fall between services, responsibility frequently passed from one agency to another without the care and attention they need. And I would welcome the Minister's reflections on that. But to conclude, too many families are being let down. One size fits all does not work and never will. Let's focus on the child, the needs of each child, and build a system that genuinely works. Yeah.